Hello and welcome to One Week, One Year, podcast where we watch and discuss every year of film history in order, starting in 1895, the dawn of cinema, and this episode is 1946. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Ellie. I'm a film projectionist, and joining me as always is...
Oh, who came in? I'm Glenn Covell. I'm a filmmaker.
Look at that. We both have film in our names.
We
Chris,
both,
Film Ellie, Glenn, Film Covell.
yeah, our nicknames.
um, how's it going, Glenn? What's up?
It's going back on the grind, back at work.
Mm.
It's 90 degrees in New York today, so got that air conditioning cranked.
Man, it's a hot one. It's like 7 inches
Indeed.
from the midday sun. I have moved again recently, moving all the time, and every time it happens, it slows the podcast down. Glenn, you've lived in the same place for a long time, and I'm jealous of you.
Very long, yeah.
But I've been
Yeah,
in a new
has
place.
the new pad.
It's chaos, dude. I've been here a month, and I still don't have anywhere to sit. There's no couch.
You look like you're sitting right now.
I just fashioned this very very recently.
Oh, I see.
There are places.
Sitting situation.
Most sitting situations right now are a little impromptu, which is yeah. We went looking for a couch surfing, if you will, today, but we can't find anything that's cheap. We wanted to find something that's cheap, and there aren't a lot of used furniture stores around here that can give us anything.
Is there an IKEA in DC?
That might be the way.
I did recently go to IKEA. That's what's new with me.
How'd you like it?
It's cool. I like it there.
Did you eat meatballs?
I wish I could just live in IKEA.
You're familiar with the soap opera that was clandestinely filmed in IKEAs, right?
I think I had heard of it, yeah, but I'm not that familiar.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not that familiar.
Speaking of IKEA, Sweden was involved in World War II, which is over now. Was Sweden involved in World War II? I think they were. They were like conquered or something, right?
I think kind of tangentially. I don't think they were that involved.
Oh, you know what? They maintained their policy of neutrality during World War II. That was not a good transition. Anyway.
Meanwhile, Norway just getting bombed left and right.
Yeah.
And puppet governments installed.
Oh, Statler and Waldorf.
No, healing.
It's time for the news, everybody.
The news of the year, 1946. In the shadow of the war, the next era begins, the space age. The U.S. Army Signal Corps bounces radar waves off the moon. The Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer, or ENIAC, is unveiled. It is 60,000 pounds, Turing complete, and the first programmable general-purpose digital computer. North Vietnam elects its first president, Ho Chi Minh. The paramilitary organization of Holocaust survivors, NACAM, poisons SS soldiers in prison with arsenic in their bread. The Plutonium Demon Corps kills a second physicist at Los Alamos in an accidental fission reaction. The United States begins its first post-war A-bomb tests at Bikini Atoll. Days later, the bikini swimsuit is first introduced, named for the bomb tests. The first official Formula One Grand Prix is held in Italy. Nazi war criminals are sentenced to death by hanging at Nuremberg. UNICEF is founded.
Unrelated, UNICEF is founded.
What whiplash.
Yeah, that's fun, huh?
Oh, that was the end? That was it?
That's the end, yeah.
Nice. I was thinking at first that it was like the John Cena thing, but that's Make-A-Wish, right?
I also like you refer to Make-A-Wish as the John Cena thing. Like he's the only one that does it. It's just him.
I think he's like the number one Make-A-Wish guy or something.
I mean, unsurprising because he seems like a great dude and like kids love him, I guess. But I think he's very funny.
我很喜欢冰淇淋.
Oh, that's him speaking Mandarin?
That was what John Cena famously said in Chinese. Yes.
Yeah. For
Well,
Make-A-Wish.
between Make-A-Wish visits, he was promoting the Fast and the Furious in Chinese and talking about how he loves ice cream. All right. We have a
Movies.
podcast to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
John Cena's in movies, but not for a while. So let's talk about the most famous film from this year, the sleepiest film from this year, The Big Sleep.
I wouldn't even say it's the most famous film from this year. I
No,
think we
it
got some
is.
real bangers this year.
Oh,
think The Big Sleep is the most famous we're talking about? I don't think so.
You know what?
It's up there.
You're right. This isn't
let's-
a Big Daddy. This is not.
But it has big in the title, so let's start
Yeah,
there.
The Big Sleepy. The Big Sleepy.
Yeah.
We're getting our podcast legs back. I feel like this is a little.
Yeah. It's a little chaotic, but we're here. We're doing it.
First moments of The Big Sleep is an incredibly stylish opening credits sequence where they are where Bogie and Bacall are in silhouette lighting each other's cigarettes, and the titles are in front of them, and you're just kind of looking at these sexy silhouettes. And then I think really in a really cool way, like a hand kind of reaches out of the darkness and puts the cigarette onto the ashtray. It's just a very stylish opening. It's a classic noir. What can I say? But it is an incredibly classic, one of the kind of totemic noir films.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like one of the ones that is the most like, anytime people are like riffing on film noir as a genre, they're taking like most of it from this movie,
including like
it's
being,
one of the big ones.
Yeah, sure. Including being incredibly convoluted and confusing.
This one especially is like famously convoluted, which I don't know if we want to go right into some behind the scenes stories on it. That
we try and do synopses when we can remember and all that, but like there's no way with this one.
Yeah, a bunch of stuff happens with the synopsis of this movie. I mean, this movie is so famously convoluted that Howard Hawks, the director, asked Raymond Chandler, who wrote the book this is based on, like, who murdered this one character who's sort of like kind of incidental, and like we never really find out what happened to them. And Raymond Chandler was like, I don't know. I forgot. Like, he didn't know. So I was like, even the writer of the story was just like, I don't know. Who cares?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think that really kind of speaks to like what's going on with these things a bit, is that it's about like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of mystery movies and spy movies, they're about the experience of solving mysteries and spycraft, less than like the actual moment to moment plot, Can I tell you what happens in a Mission Impossible movie? I cannot.
Never.
Not
one.
But am I enjoying the vibe? Yes, I am, And I think that's the case with a movie like this.
Although, put a pin in that, because we might be talking about Mission Impossible later on in this episode. I won't say why.
Okay.
Yeah, another big Bogie Bacall movie.
Yeah, including reshoots to make it more of a Bogie and Bacall movie.
Right. Yeah.
This one, I was going to mention with the opening scene, or not the opening scene, but the opening titles where they're smoking cigarettes, and it's Bogart and Bacall. You know how to smoke, don't you? You just put your lips around it and suck.
If only that was real dialogue in this movie. Wouldn't surprise me if it was, but yeah.
That one's a little too far, I think.
I think this movie is also... Had you seen this movie before?
No.
Were you reminded of any other movies called The Big Something?
Oh, I mean, right. I guess I heard that this is like a kind of Big Lebowski's kind of riffing on this, right?
Yeah, especially the beginning. I think at a certain point, Big Lebowski really sort of goes off and does its own thing. But a lot of like the plot,
in this movie.
True. A lot of the plot setup of The Big Lebowski is like almost identical to this. Like there's the main character gets brought to this big mansion of a mysterious wealthy benefactor who has a butler and just like young women around. I guess in Lebowski it's his trophy wife, and this it's one of his two daughters. But it's like you can clearly see the ways in which The Big Lebowski is riffing on this movie, which I think is kind of like to go back and rewatch this after having seen Lebowski. Also, it is like it's kind of like I'm getting a lot of Big Lebowski vibes from this. And it's like, well, sure,
Interesting.
guy who's only ever seen one movie.
I have seen The Big Lebowski a couple times. That's never super connected with me, and I can't say that I remember too much of the plot. But I am interested
I
in
mean,
seeing it
also
again.
insanely convoluted and like
Yeah,
hard to follow. So
yeah.
that's another way it's really riffing on this.
I really can't tell you much of what happened in this movie.
Well, there's I mean, if I just watched it, I could probably tell you, but like even looking back at my notes, I'm like, yeah, what is the plot?
I did just watch this, and it's like, okay, he's hired to uh investigate some kind of guy related to the family who disappeared, and then like the daughters are sort of involved in some of the stuff, and one of them's really messy, and the other one's like trying to uh like not reveal all of these things, and there's all of this like stuff with a gambling guy who it's kind of wrapped all in and everything. It's yeah, lots of
It's like he's hired to uncover like a blackmailing scheme, which
yes,
then leads to multiple murders and other crimes. So then it's like the sort of the tangled web he gets sort of sucked into.
just like Frodo.
Right. And also Lauren Bacall is there. So he's like, well, I can't leave now. Lauren Bacall is here.
My favorite lady, Lauren Bacall.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's not just. I was kind of surprised because they're top billing, Bogart and Bacall, and like they get
Hmm.
you know the kind of relationship between the two of them develops a lot in this movie, but it's kind of ridiculous how like every single lady that he meets is just like, I want you so bad right now.
It becomes like a running joke. Like the first couple times, it just feels really like silly and maybe a little bit like, all right, 1940s, we get it. But like the fact that it's like pretty much every side character in this movie is played by like a young, attractive woman.
who
Like
wants who
every
wants Humphrey
every
Bogart?
like
Yeah.
every bookstore owner, every taxi driver, every like literally like everyone that this detective runs into. Philip Marlowe is his
Kind
name.
of a proto Bond sort of situation in that way.
I guess, yeah, kind of. It feels more overtly comedic in this. It feels a little bit less. I guess it is in a lot of Bond movies too, but like
Do you think that
there's
it's a
something that
joke in
is.
this, or it's like
I
a fantasy?
I mean both, much like Bond movies are, but I think I definitely get the sense that there is a sort of cheekiness to it, and that it is sort of like, yeah, I don't know. It feels deliberately comedic to me. The
Hmm.
fact that it's like everyone he runs into is like, why, hello. And it also leads to a lot of great. This is another great sort of like movie that is undermining the Hays Code at every opportunity.
Mhm.
And just has lots of make eyes and lots of like innuendos in the dialogue and such. I think the scene at the bookstore is sort of
Yeah.
often cited as like one of the many like Hays Code scenes that is like, steaming up the screen
Yeah.
because of how horny it is.
She's just like, you're a private eye, you said? I am shutting down the store right now, and we're going to the back room and having a cocktail.
Yeah, and then also the fact that it's like, ooh, it started raining outside. They don't say this, but it's like it's getting real wet outside.
Ah, I see. I
Maybe
see.
I'm taking it too far. I don't know. Maybe my mind is in the gutter. But this movie invites the mind to be in the gutter, is what I'm saying. There is a bit of. So I've also read the book this is based on,
Oh.
which is right, similarly insanely convoluted. The book definitely has some stuff that is cut out for like to meet Hays Code standards. Like there's more references, if I'm recalling correctly, there's a lot more references to like drug use in the book, and also so when one of the daughters is found at the house where there's a dead body in the movie, she's like having pictures being taken of her in like a sort of vaguely Chinese dress, which I feel like 1940s uses like Chinese as kind of a weird racist shorthand for like vice criminals.
Huh.
kind of stuff. In the book, I think she's naked, and it's like much more. It's like she's been drugged in kind of a more overt way.
Yeah, I mean, like
And
in the movie, he says like she's high as a kite, which
right,
it's I was surprised at referencing you know being high right in this movie.
right.
Like it's clear that she is drugged or on drugs rather than drunk. But
Mm,
and he refers to her as high, which I have not seen that kind of reference before. I guess like the only other time I've seen like previously that we've seen the term high is in High and Dizzy, referring to being drunk for
right,
in the
and
Harold
also
Lloyd
being
picture.
up
Being
a
on a
tall
high up
building.
building. Yes, it's a pun. Yeah.
I don't know if I have any greater points about the book, but it's good. I recommend it. It's got a lot of great hard-boiled dialogue, as does this movie.
hmm
It's got a lot of great sort of Howard Hawksian banter
Yeah.
flying back and forth.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
It is very dialogue heavy, and it is a movie that I think the big appeal is like the dialogue and the performances. Like it's a very talky movie, but it's great talking. It's like primo talking in this thing.
That's the thing. It's like I think that the plot is so much that what this movie is good at is being a vibe, right? And it
Mm,
captures that kind of
absolutely.
iconic noir vibe very well. And so in some ways it like doesn't really feel like you really need to pay a lot of attention because you can just like observe whatever scene is happening in front of you and just enjoy the experience of it, you know.
Yeah, yeah. It is definitely uh, a vibe movie in that like don't worry about it. Not to steal a terminology from Patrick Willems. The idea of like a movie that is like the plot is secondary to just sort of the atmosphere and the kind of we're seeing characters kind of going about their process, and that is what is interesting.
Mm. It is a documents movie as well. It's like to the library, you know.
True, it is also a documents movie. A lot of my notes are just dialogue. So there's a scene of Bogie and Bacall at a bar flirting it up, and they're doing a lot of like horse racing metaphor.
Oh yeah,
They're
yeah.
like talking about horse racing, but like they're talking about horse racing in like the horniest way possible, which sort of to me is establishing this idea that like, oh, in the 1940s, horse racing was like a very sexy thing. It was very like cool and hot to be like go
I
to
don't
a
know.
horse
I mean,
race.
maybe or maybe it just
But
this movie is doing that.
I'm backed up because another movie from 1946 that we're also talking about is the Alfred Hitchcock movie Notorious that
Notorious.
also features hot, mysterious horse racing scenes. This I had not seen before
No, yeah.
and was very impressed by. I would even go as far as to say it's maybe one of my favorite Hitchcock movies.
Oh wow, nice,
I
nice.
love this thing. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was great.
it's a cool movie. I think there's a lot of style in it and like good banter and that kind of stuff as well.
Hmm. Yeah, Cary Grant, Ingrid Bergman.
Yes. Yeah, like a kind of romantic angle, very forward on this one.
The romantic angle. I like how much this is like a romantic thriller, and yet, like I think, especially Cary Grant, up until this point, has often played like very comedic roles, usually a romantic lead, but like he usually plays very silly characters up until this point, I would say.
At least in the stuff we've seen him in.
Right? Yeah. But I think this feels like a real kind of shift in that like he's playing a much more he's still playing a very like charming character, but he's much less silly
Mhm.
than a lot of previous Cary Grant characters.
He has some different kinds of stuff to do. He's in this movie he is being very restrained. Uh
Hmm.
and it's like it's about him like trying to be professional and also he has feelings of jealousy and love
I feel like this one
spy stuff.
I feel like this one we can summarize more easily,
Go for it.
which is Ingrid Bergman plays the daughter of a Nazi who is recruited by Cary Grant, who is a spy for the Americans, to rekindle not even rekindle, but to basically seduce a friend of her now dead father's, who's also a Nazi, and who is in Brazil doing secret South American Nazi stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That guy is played by Claude Rains. Naturally, Ingrid Bergman and Cary Grant are sort of like falling in love during this, but Cary Grant is like, his job is to tell her to go seduce this other guy
Yeah.
so that he can get the intel from him. And so he's having to sort of like, restrain all of his emotions and like push them all down and be like, like Ingrid Bergman is like, tell me not to do it. And he's like, I can't. It's like, it's my job. It's like,
Right.
but then meanwhile, Claude Rains' character is like hopelessly in love with Ingrid Bergman and is like also kind of charming, and like you get the sense that he is like, his feelings are very genuine,
Right.
even though he's a bad person. And so there's this thing of like Cary Grant is having to sort of like put on this facade of like coldness in order to do his job. And so there is, I don't know, it's an interesting take on the kind of like love triangle thing, because like there's lots of interesting dynamics happening during it.
Yeah. Yeah. Although, like, I think there's a lot that I like about this movie, but kind of what I will say is that I don't really buy the chemistry between Cary Grant and Ingrid Bergman. I think
No?
I think that Cary Grant's playing restrained, him being like, I'm not seeing, like, with Brief Encounter, right? It's like from the last episode.
Mhm.
It's like these people who are like bursting out with their feelings, and
It's
like,
hard to compare any movie romance to Brief Encounter, though. Like, that is such a high bar.
but I mean, it's an example of like some people like who are trying to restrain their feelings,
Right,
but then
yeah.
they can't help but feel them. And I think that like Cary Grant a lot of the time in this movie just kind of comes off like a jerk, because
Right,
like,
he often comes across as just kind of smug or cold or...
yeah. So I don't know. If you kind of look past that, I think there are indeed some interesting dynamics happening.
Mhm.
And to put on top of all the kind of like love triangle dynamics are also like the spycraft dynamics, where Ingrid Bergman, I think, is doing like the most heavy lifting in this movie, where she's having to like show her feelings for this guy that she never really liked, but like she has this duty, but this duty is something that was like ascribed to her by someone else. But then she's like, I've got nothing else going on, so I'm going to dedicate my whole life toward taking down these Nazis. But then like she keeps getting pushed to do more and more dangerous things, like, and close to blowing her cover and putting herself in danger in order to get the job done, including like the best scene in the movie, where
The wine cellar?
yes.
Yeah.
The best scene in the movie, where there's like a party at, the Claude Rains bad guy Nazi's house, and
Yeah.
the two of them are basically trying to like find some kind of secret uranium. They don't know what it is yet, but like this kind of stuff that's being smuggled by the Nazis in
Yeah.
the basement. This perfect like Hitchcock ticking time bomb of when will the wine run out at this party, because somebody's going to go down to the wine cellar where they are to get more wine. It keeps cutting back to the wine at the party slowly running out, and the tension is
It is
so
it is
so good.
such like classic great Hitchcock filmmaking. Yeah. Another Hitchcock thing, the big MacGuffin of this movie is, right, the Nazis are trying to get uranium for nefarious purposes. And this movie came out in 46, and I guess it was not really public knowledge fully that like uranium is what you use to make an atomic bomb. Or it was at least enough of a red flag that the US government had to like investigate Hitchcock or like the screenwriters to be like, how did you know that this is like exactly the process that needs to happen? I think they just did their research really well, but it was like they nailed it so much that the government got like not upset, but they got concerned, I guess, that
If
they had like stolen state secrets to make their silly spy movie.
it feels so much like Hitchcock to be investigated by the U.S. government.
Right.
It
Yeah.
it really fits with with what I know about him, I think.
him being a stinker,
Yes.
to put it lightly.
That whole I also want to say that whole section of the they're at a dinner party and they're going downstairs in the wine cellar and doing all the spy stuff. It had like Hitman 20, like the 2016 Hitman game, right? Or just like the Hitman games in general. It had like so much of that same energy.
Yeah, a lot of sneaking into wine cellars in those games.
Yeah.
Right, but it is like this does feel like it has a lot of like very classical like spy movie stuff in it.
Yeah.
That is just great fun. I love it. And then of course, right, like they were about to be discovered outside the wine cellar, and so they start making out, and so then it's like, oh, we actually snuck away because like we're having an affair.
Which adds like this
Or
kind
like
of jealousy element for Claude
right.
Rains' character into this whole thing. Yeah.
And right, it's just like another classic like spy movie thing of like, oh no, we're caught, quick, kiss me, which is always sort of like, is that the best? Like, I think you might be doing this because you wanted to kiss somebody, but okay. As Ingrid Bergman's character is getting right deeper and deeper into this thing, Claude Rains asks her to marry him, and so then she's like, has to commit to that in order not to break her cover, and then eventually Claude Rains and his mean mom. Of course, every villain needs a mean mom.
He's got I mean
Very very big Cyril Karn vibes from this guy.
he's got I mean I was going to say like Principal Skinner, you know, which
Same.
like
Domineering mother is not a thing that Hitchcock would ever put in a movie.
yeah.
But so like they discover that she is a honeypot, a spy. But then they can't reveal it because then the other Nazis will kill them because they've let this spy into all of their secret meetings.
It's such a good element. And there's a part where he where he finds out that he's married to a spy, and he tells his mother who knows how to make the
Oops,
plan.
I married a spy.
Yeah, and he says, I'm married to an American agent, and then she just sighs, and it's just like, I need a cigarette.
And then yeah, the ending of this movie I think is great, where Ingrid Bergman is being slowly poisoned by Claude Rains and his mean mom, and until Cary Grant is able to show up, and then undercover is able to like get her out of the house while not revealing sort of what the whole situation is, because there's all of the other like secret Nazis there at a meeting, and Claude Rains keeps trying to leave with them in order to maintain his cover that he's not married to a spy, and Cary Grant's just like, sorry dude, we're taking the car, bye.
Not my problem. And he locks the door.
Yeah, and that's the end, where it's like
so
they get
cold.
away.
Yeah.
And it's just like it ends on Claude Rains's like ruined face as like the door closes on him. It's so good. It's so satisfying. Yeah, like I feel like this movie is simultaneously like really tense. I buy the sort of like central romance of it, and it's also just like a romp. It's super fun.
Yeah.
And there's some really cool filmmaking in it too. There's like the whole when Ingrid Bergman is drunk driving at the beginning, and she like wakes up and she's all woozy, and there's like a wacky like lens effect where it's like out of focus and it's like shifting all around as she like sees Cary Grant walking into the room. Just stuff like that is like just interesting. Lots of cool like camera blocking. There's an amazing crane shot that like comes down from like all the way down from a super wide shot of the whole room from the
with like a
ceiling
big
all the way.
party, the big party,
Yeah,
like tons and tons of people.
tons of extras, and then it goes all the way down to a ring.
Isn't the key in her hand, right?
And it's the key. It's the key. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's like all the way to this like extreme close up.
Yeah, it's a shot that calls a lot of attention to itself, but it's a very
Oh, but
cool
it
one.
rules. Yeah, it's so great.
Speaking of like camera stuff, I thought it was interesting that there are some scenes with the Cary Grant and Ingrid Bergman characters in their hotel while they're waiting to receive their job and kind of falling in love.
Hmm.
They're like on their balcony, looking out over this kind of beach area in Brazil, and the it's shot on a stage, and you can see the kind of rough edges of like the rotoscoping like
Hmm.
around them, which it's you don't I guess you don't see that like so often of it's just like it's not like a rear projection. It is like we're doing like our kind of old fashioned chroma key sort of thing
Hmm.
where we are just masking them out, and it was rough
Yeah,
enough that you could tell what was going on, but like it's just kind of interesting to see.
yeah. I do think that's the thing that like maybe doesn't get thought of. I don't know. I feel like people don't remember Hitchcock necessarily as a like VFX heavy director, but like he has lots of visual effects in his movies from like the beginning. Like he's always really kind of experimented with process shots and rear projection and like compositing stuff. And like I feel like this and Rebecca both have lots of like both like big kind of location movies that are shot mostly on studios and have a lot of like fake backdrops and stuff that still have like filmed elements and movement and things to them. Also, that scene is another like sort of Hays Code cheating the Hays Code scene where I think like you weren't allowed to kiss for longer than like 2 seconds on screen or something like that. There was some dumb arbitrary rule, and so they get around it by like by like putting dialogue in between like a bunch of shorter kisses. So they're like their faces are right next to each other, but they're like talking through the kissing kind of,
Yeah.
and so it just draws it out to like the length of a whole scene, right? Way steamier than a normal kiss would be. So it's like that is Duffy Hitchcock being like, all right, fine, I'm just gonna make this scene way longer than it would have been.
I saw a quote from Hitchcock of like his pitch for this movie,
Hmm.
which was quote the story of a woman sold for political purposes into sexual enslavement, which like is definitely the like definitely a very like lurid Hitchcockian kind of thing.
Hmm.
I think it's kind of cool how Ingrid Bergman, she gets a lot to do in this movie. It is not like it takes this kind of complicated angle into this like quote unquote like sexual enslavement, right? She is having to go so deep undercover that she is, having sex with someone who is a Nazi who she doesn't like, right? And
I
she's
also
stuck in
kind
this
of get the sense
situation.
though that she never actually sleeps with Claude Rains. There is kind of this feeling that I get that like their relationship does feel very chaste, and it does feel very like Claude Rains is clearly like incredibly in love with her, but I feel
Yeah,
like that is almost all the more reason why she can probably string him along to the point of marriage without having sex with him.
maybe. And
Meanwhile, I think there's like her relationship with Cary Grant's character is like so I don't remember any of the character names.
Devlin.
Is right. It's like there's less of sort of like the domestic sort of niceties and of sort of like marriage and this and that, but it's like there's a lot more kind of like it's much more sexually charged,
Right. Yeah.
contrasting,
Hmm.
like romantic relationship stuff.
I think the movie ends up being a lot more complex than than Hitchcock's pitch for it. It's just such a
Yeah.
Hitchcocky like thing of just like,
Right.
ooh,
Yeah.
she's
Ooh,
sold for
creepy.
she's sold for political purposes into sexual enslavement. It's
Yeah.
just like such a kind of Hitchcock kind of
Yeah.
take, I guess.
Although I also think that description does make it sound like Ingrid Bergman's character has a lot less agency than she
Right.
does in the movie.
Yeah.
Like I think even when she agrees to like go along with the plan, you kind of get the sense that she is almost trying to like call Cary Grant's bluff a little bit. Like you're not actually going to make me go through with this.
Right.
And then he does. And there's like this thing of like both of them want to tell the other person like, no, don't do it. I love you. You like this could never happen. Let's run away together. But like neither of them do, and both of them are like waiting for the other person to say it. But neither, and it's like that. I feel like that kind of stuff is really juicy.
Yeah.
So my hot take on this movie, I had for a long time, I had known or had heard that the Mission Impossible 2 was sort of like vaguely based on or inspired by this movie, and that they had like kind of a similar plot setup. And I had not seen Mission Impossible 2 for easily 10 years. I'm a big Mission Impossible guy. I have watched all of them many times, but 2 was the one I had definitely not seen in the longest amount of time. So after watching this movie, Notorious, I decided to rewatch Mission Impossible 2.
Wow.
And it is Mission Impossible 2 is a straight up remake of Notorious.
Oh, really?
Like, I almost think it functions better as a remake of Notorious than as a Mission Impossible movie. Because as a sequel to the first Mission Impossible, it's like, whoa. This is like the complete other end of like what this movie could be. It's so different. I think it's very funny that Mission Impossible 2 is kind of a like early 2000s like new metal remake of a Hitchcock movie.
Wow.
And it's like it's like scenes track onto each other way more than I thought that they would. Like there's the scene where Ingrid Bergman is drunk driving with Cary Grant, and like he pulls her out of the car. In Mission Impossible 2, there's the thing of like there's like the goofy car chase along a cliff. So there's like there's like that relationship starts in a car in both movies. There's like the sort of recruitment and argument stuff plays out almost the exact same way. There is a scene right where they meet up at a horse race in Mission Impossible 2. Thandaway Newton gets poisoned in Mission Impossible 2 with like the super virus or whatever, much like Ingrid Bergman is getting slowly poisoned. There's so many parallels where I was like, I didn't realize that it was like as much of a direct remake as it is.
I haven't seen Mission Impossible 2. That's interesting.
You should watch it. It's a really silly, dumb version of Notorious.
Nice.
With a bunch of Mission Impossible stuff in it. I think the biggest difference is that like right in Notorious, Claude Rains genuinely is in love with Ingrid Bergman, even if she isn't with him. Whereas in Mission Impossible 2, the main villain is like very much not actually in love with the woman who's doing the honeypot scheme, and is like also trying to manipulate her in he's much more of a like callous, like unforgivable villain. Like I feel like he's much less vulnerable than Claude Rains is in this, which I think is a lot less interesting.
Claude Rains can do threatening, but he can also do pathetic really well.
Yeah, and he's really leaning into, I guess, both, but especially the pathetic stuff in this one.
Yeah. I mean, another movie that is concerning Nazis in South America.
Indeed.
I guess everyone just kind of knew that this was happening in
right. I'm kind of surprised right away.
Yeah.
Right away. Everyone's like, they're all down in South America. Like, we all know that. I think even by 46, there were already like people like were getting sent to South America to like find, war criminals that had escaped. And so there's a bunch of movies about it, naturally.
Yeah, we're talking about Gilda.
The movie from Shawshank Redemption.
Oh.
Which is certainly I think that is almost kind of like this movie's biggest cultural footprint, at least for our generation, probably.
The Shawshank generation.
Yeah, millennials, the Shawshank generation.
There was a pre and post Shawshank era. Yeah, although I will say that one other kind of part of this movie that lived outside of the film itself that I recognized was the song "Put the Blame on Maine." Like I've heard that in other places, and that was written for this movie.
Yeah, I also like that whole musical number feels like I had definitely seen clips of that. That feels like a scene and a song that has sort of had a very long kind of cultural footprint. Also, this is like the big. I don't know if this is maybe Rita Hayworth's most famous movie,
Yeah, we haven't done
possibly.
any of her stuff before, right?
No, this is kind of like the big, or at least one of the early big Rita Hayworth pictures.
Hmm.
And the plot of this movie is basically Rita Hayworth is hot. Like that is like most of what this movie is about.
I mean, this has also got some kind of similar sort of love triangle among villains sort of thing going
Yeah,
on. Uh,
this feels like a much less effective version of Notorious in some ways.
I don't know. I think that I like the style of this movie. I like the kind of straightforwardness and like the kind of like it's dark. It's like I think Notorious is like a fun movie, and this is fun. It's fun in a way, but it's like so much more focused on all of these people who are just almost near irredeemable scumbags, you know.
Yeah, it's a much scummier movie. It's a much seedier movie for sure.
Like Gilda, I think is a bit of like a kind of you know, maybe chaotic evil version of the manic pixie dream girl, you know.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm maybe more chaotic neutral than
Yeah,
chaotic evil, but
like a chaotic neutral with like a little hint of chaotic evil, let's say.
maybe. That almost is kind of my big issue with this movie is I find so many of the characters like irredeemable, and
Hmm.
like the movie kind of expects me as like the audience to like want them to succeed, and I'm
Hmm.
like, no, I don't. They're shitty. I hate them.
Yeah, I was thinking about this in I mean, this is definitely not laying it on so thick as Pandora's Box, right? Which was a movie that I kind of
Hmm.
really hated because it was full of all of these irredeemable people that I just had no fun being around. I think this is a fun movie. Like I think that like these people are evil in
Yeah,
a way that I found fairly watchable, you know, or at least like
this is true.
the main
Yeah,
character what's his name? Johnny Farrell. Like he is like a kind of
terrible.
yeah, he's kind of like a I mean, I think that he has a rise akin to like a Little Caesar or a Scarface or something like
Yes.
that.
I actually
Um
I Scarface is a good reference for sure.
and so he's like a real piece of shit. And
But it's like right in Scarface there's this sort of feeling of like this inevitable end where he's going to like go out in a blaze of glory. Whereas in this movie it is kind of spoilers. It's sort of like like he gets away and it's like happy at the end. And I'm like, "No. This guy deserves to like get dropped down a well. He's
I
so
kind of
shitty."
kind of like the end though where they've both done so much horrible stuff to each other that like he's like about to say like I'm sorry, I actually do love you, I'm sorry for everything that I did, and she cuts him off and she's just like, isn't it great that neither of us have to say we're sorry because we're both such pieces of shit? Like let's just not and enjoy the rest of our lives together.
I don't know. I wish that that sentiment came across stronger. I feel like the ending of this movie to me just felt very unearned. Like the
A little
writing
bit.
just feels. I think that's possible also, especially compared to Notorious, which is like a rock solid screenplay. Notorious is so well written, whereas I think Gilda is like a very sloppy screenplay that is mostly an excuse for like Rita Hayworth musical numbers and like crime stuff to happen. And it's like it doesn't feel like it all fits together. It's just kind of like movie stuff.
I think it worked for me. Okay, I was having a fun time with it. I think like yeah, one of the kind of main sort of plot elements in this is that there is you know Johnny Farrell kind of gets recruited by this guy who has married Gilda, who is his recent ex. And she comes back into his life because his boss, who has kind of brought him up from nothing to become the second in command of this illegal casino slash tungsten cartel, and then
a tungsten cartel.
and then he's like, "What do you think of my new wife?" And he's like, doesn't want to say that this is his ex
Yeah.
from 4
Oh
weeks ago.
no, my
That
evil ex is here,
and
and she's married to my boss. Whoa.
but yeah, I kind of the way the Nazis kind of figure into this is that like they had a sort of tungsten cartel, and they sold off with like a kind of handshake deal all of their tungsten ownership to to the boss man, and then they kind of come knocking saying like, "Hey, the war's over. Give us our tungsten back."
I do think it's kind of funny. There's a scene in this movie where they have to explain what a cartel is.
I mean, I don't think a lot of people know what a cartel is. Like, I didn't know until pretty
True,
recently.
but
Like, it's like, you know, people just think of the cartel of like
right. But I think like that association didn't really exist yet, at least in the United States.
right.
And so I don't know. It's just that there's like this guy's like, "Have you ever heard of the word cartel?" And I'm like, "I have," but it's like audiences in 1946. I feel like we're getting, you know, introduced to the idea of cartels in
The
this
economic
movie.
concept of a cartel.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But also, right, it's like I had never actually heard a like full just like description of like what a cartel is. So I did actually
Basically an
benefit.
international monopoly and an agreement between different groups
Hmm.
to fix prices. And then and then there's this whole thing of it's like I realized once I pored over all the documents that the one who controls the tungsten controls the world. Which yeah, it's kind of an interesting sort of weirdly kind of in the weeds, like bureaucratic economic kind of thing going on in this movie
Right,
about like a love triangle, you know.
right, and another thing where like I hate to compare this constantly to Notorious, but I do feel like there are so many similarities, and I feel like this movie fails in a lot of ways where that movie succeeds. It's like they got like uranium. Nazis want to get uranium to like build bombs with, and this is like they want a tungsten cartel to like fix prices and for like industrial thing. You know, it's like I just feel like the machinations feel a lot more convoluted in ways that don't necessarily benefit the storytelling, I
Hmm.
guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I liked it. I had a fun time with it. Some kind of spare observations. Another very cool opening shot.
We got to talk about the famous shot of Rita Hayworth flipping her hair up.
Oh, true. Yeah, yeah. When she's first introduced, I was like, I've
Yeah.
seen this before.
Yeah, well, because she's introduced and her crime boss husband says, "Gilda, are you decent?" And then it cuts to her flipping her hair up, and she's got a low cut dress, and the shot is framed so you can't really see the dress; you just see her bare shoulders, and it's like, ooh, it's very for 1946. It's very risque,
Yeah.
as this whole movie is. I feel like this movie is very like, check out this gal over here.
We're definitely in the Haze era of like we have figured out how to be as sexy as possible, like
Yeah.
while still technically meeting the demands. You know?
Yeah, like I do think that Rita Hayworth is very attractive in this movie, but I also think there is something that is very kind of leering about this movie. Has very kind of like male gazy stuff going on. It's
Hmm.
very just like, ugh, I don't know, this movie feels lecherous in a way that I feel like Big Sleep and Notorious don't.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think that I don't know though. I think it kind of works for this movie. I mean,
Right.
I
I mean, the
can.
whole movie feels very seedy and yeah, it's like it is part of the vibe of it for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it's like a sleazy movie from like a male gaze. I could see the argument for like a kind of male gaze. It's certainly present in this movie, but like I don't think of it as like a sleazy movie just because like Rita Hayworth is hot, you know? Like
No,
I
I
think that
think
like she
I
has like a playfulness to her kind of
I think it's
like
more that the ways that the other characters in the movie itself kind of treats her. I feel like
mhm.
there's definitely I think a degree of kind of judgment on the narrative of the film itself
And I mean there
against Gilda.
yeah, and there's also like a lot of like moving her around like she's like a
Yeah.
hacky sack between people. And like there's I mean, I think that like honestly the movie does comment on that because there's like this whole thing at the end of like how Johnny is able to marry her in order to exact just complete control over her life. And like there's this whole thing about like whether she can get divorced or get an annulment and like what's
Yeah.
possible like in different
That was the
countries.
point where I was like, okay, Johnny is irredeemable. Like this
Yeah,
guy is
yeah.
not like I want to see this guy eaten by a lion at the end.
Yeah, because it's like she is I mean this movie I think is pretty clearly commenting on just like how like how horrifically she can be treated just because she's
Yeah.
married to somebody basically.
And I think for a lot of the time the movie is on Gilda's side and
Yeah,
is
yeah.
sympathetic towards Gilda. I think Gilda is the most sympathetic character in the movie and the only character that I was really rooting for at any point.
I liked the bathroom attendant. He was the most
Oh yeah, he was
sympathetic
great.
character in the movie.
I agree. I also like the bathroom attendant. He was cool. Um and like I do think there is a degree to which Gilda is like very self-possessed and knows what she wants and is like
Mhm.
I could also see this movie there being a sort of reading of it that is more empowering towards her.
Yeah.
But I think the movie kind of shoots itself in the foot by having Johnny be like, "All right, now let's go run off because we're both big pieces of shit." And I'm like, "No. Johnny can drown in a puddle of mud."
The evil kind of crime boss who owns the casino and all of that. He's got kind of a Claude Rainsy sort of vibe to him with this like
He's got a sword cane. Yeah.
he's got, and he's got like this, British accent, this threatening
Yeah,
British
he's oh
accent.
god, what's that actor's name? Georgia McCready, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And he has a big scar in his face. It looks like a dueling scar. It's not. It's I forget how he actually got the scar. It was something a lot more innocuous.
Hmm.
He played a lot of villains, and like he has a very sort of like aristocratic manner to him.
Yeah.
And he's got this big scar in his face that is like such a kind of like very classical villain looking scar, I guess. But I think he kind of was able to use that as a performer in a lot of ways. He was able to capitalize on that to get cast as a lot of aristocratic villains and such.
He was his name is Ballin in the movie. But it's spelled at Ballin.
If only his name was Ballin.
So my partner walked in like and looked at the screen, and there's a point where like Johnny is like just stands up and he and like the captions or whatever it just says ballin'. We ball.
So yeah, I not my favorite movie of the bunch, but there was also a lot to enjoy in it for sure. I mean, it's got a lot of great noirish shit going on, and also good songs. Has like
Yeah.
multiple just like full songs in it
I
where
was
Rita Hayworth is just singing and dancing and doing fun stuff.
I rewatched It Happened One Night recently, and I was thinking that while I watched that movie and this movie of just like more movies should just stop and have a song. Why not?
I agree.
Like
I
like
absolutely agree.
and there's
Not
this
like not in the sort of Marx Brothers way where it is just like we are going to cut to a different set where they do a song and then it's going to cut back to the rest of the movie.
Yeah, no, like I like the I like the diegetic song performances. In It Happened One Night, you're just like listening to they're on the bus and they're just playing music or just singing and playing music, and you're just sitting there enjoying it. You're enjoying the ride on the bus, and the movie just stops for a second and you just have fun, and it's great. And also, she's in a nightclub and you're listening to her sing, and it's great in this. I will say the counterpoint to every movie should just stop and have a song is Austin Powers 2, which when that happened, I watched Austin Powers 2 for the first time recently, and I was like, "What the hell is this?" Like when
Which song? Which song is in
there's
Austin Powers
there's like
2?
a horrific rap that Doctor Evil does
Oh yeah, yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
Austin Powers 2. It's so unfunny, and
Okay, because they're like the BBC song, great. Daddy wasn't there, also great. So
oh right,
any
yeah, yeah,
songs that Austin sings, I think I'm a fan of. I do agree the prison rap in two is it's not as funny as the movie thinks it is, and that's the problem.
I love Austin Powers 1. I think Austin Powers 2 is awful. And Austin
Mm.
Powers 3 is okay.
Yeah,
There's my
I think
review.
that's I think it's a fair. The rest of this podcast is now going to be at Austin Powers. Unless we have anything else to say about Gilda, I think we can move on to another film about lingering effects of World War II.
Yes.
This is sort of a maybe a thin connection, but
No,
we're gonna
no,
make
no, it
it
works.
anyway.
You got the segues on lock in this episode.
A much more dramatic, austere film, The Best Years of Our Lives,
Mm-hmm.
directed by William
William
Wyler,
Wyler. Yeah.
who was in World War II, making documentaries and propaganda films, and who I found out recently went deaf from being on a in a bomber that was too loud, and he permanently lost hearing.
Wow.
That I think eventually he got some of it back, and like he had hearing aids throughout the whole rest of his life. But yeah, like went into World War II with ears that worked and came out of it at least partially deaf.
I mean, that really just touches on like one of the main things to talk about this movie is
Yeah.
this like really sympathetic um and woke for its time, certainly, like like depiction of disability.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think, broadly you could say that this movie is about like trauma and PTSD and just like the ways that coming back from war affects you. It follows
Hmm.
three characters who meet in a plane on the way back from World War II, and come back to the same town and are reintegrating into their lives, basically. But what I was referring to earlier is this one character who lost both of his hands, and the movie spends a lot of time like with him grappling with his own feelings about his new, his hook hands that he's got, and how he navigates other people's reactions to his hook hands.
Yeah. Well, and also very notably played by Harold Russell, who plays Homer, the guy with the hooks, who actually did lose his hands in World War II, and so it's like he was not a professional actor. I think William Wyler had seen him. There was a a documentary short about him, just in sort of like how he was able to like readjust and learn to use prosthetic hands. And William Wyler was like, I think the book this was based on had a third character that was like dealing with much more like kind of like psychological PTSD type symptoms, and William Wyler rewrote the movie to be like, no, we're getting this guy, we're putting this guy in the movie, even though he's not an actor. And he's so good in the movie that he won not one but two Oscars for the same role, which has never happened before or since. He won Best Supporting Actor, which he was nominated for with a bunch of other people, and then he was also given like an honorary Oscar for inspiring people just through like being in this movie, which is crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
And I think it really kind of speaks at the times too, of just sort of like the immediate like post-war mindset in America, where like give this guy an extra Oscar just because of like him showing people, even if you come back with missing limbs, or if you come back, feeling damaged in some way, like there is hope. The movie spends a lot of time just focusing on like how dexterous he is with his prosthetic hands,
Including like focusing on him lighting cigarettes, which is kind
right?
of
Lighting cigarettes, writing stuff, like unbuttoning his shirt.
but I mean, like, like another movie that deals with like, physical disability that we've covered is Freaks, which just pauses the movie.
Has a lot of cigarette stuff
It
in
just
it too.
pauses the movie to show a guy with no arms and no legs rolling a cigar, like a cigarette with his mouth and smoking it.
Yeah.
Uh,
It was one of the three most important things a human could do in the 1920s or 40s is smoking a cigarette. You're like, can you walk? Can you open doors? Can you smoke a cigarette? Okay, you're good. You're set. You can live life.
Speaking of the cigarettes, though, there's a scene, a movie that we didn't cover from the early 30s, that I saw at a screening at the Library of Congress recently. Is called The Match King, and it's about like this kind of guy who rises to the top of industry and like becomes super rich and powerful from and it's this kind of semi-fictionalized like biography of this real guy who ran a match company, and in the movie it shows him kind of coming up with this marketing thing of trying to like spread the idea that it's bad luck to light a cigarette with more than to light more than two cigarettes with one match, in order to get people to light more matches. And there's a part in this movie where Homer is like saying like, "Oh, like I'm gonna light another match because I've already lit your two cigarettes, and I need to light a new one because I don't want to do something unlucky," which
Mm.
I thought was
Oh, interesting.
yeah.
Either that was a cultural thing that existed pre Match King, or Match King put that out into the
Oh no,
lexicon.
like I think Match King was referencing the real cultural thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I don't know. Cigarette culture. I'm not up on these things. Yeah, this movie is very good. I can only imagine how hard it hit for audiences when it came out, because it is like, it's so
It's very
I
real.
don't know, it's just it's very emotional, and it's like, it's really refreshingly not melodramatic in most cases. Like, I think I was sort of expecting it to be a little bit more like
schmaltzy.
anguish,
Yeah.
and schmaltzy, and it really isn't. It feels very well observed, and it also, I like, because it's following three different characters, we're seeing like a good, I mean, it's still, they're all white men still, so it's like the cultural snapshot we're getting isn't the widest, but it is like, we're getting, each of them have very different home lives and like reactions to coming back from war. None of them are like these like bombastic. They're all just like subtle ways in which they feel out of place or out of touch, or sort of like, that they have, gone off and done this, horrific thing that's incredibly traumatic for them, and then come back, and then it's like their hometown has kind of moved on without them to a certain degree. Because there's Homer with the hook hands. There's, I forget the other two's names.
There's Al Stevenson, who's played by Frederick March.
Yeah,
Which
our old pal Frederick March.
I did not recognize him in this at all.
No, I definitely recognized him, but I had not seen any Frederick March movies before starting this podcast, and now I feel like I'm like seeing like his entire career play out.
Yeah, seriously.
Once again, playing an alcoholic, which I'm like, this guy is either he's getting really typecast, or like he's got a thing about playing alcohol.
It's a different take on an alcoholic, though. I think it's honestly like a more nuanced, good take on an alcoholic than in Star is Born. But
it feels
and then,
I think a lot less judgmental than Star is Born or Merrily We Go to Hell.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Merrily We Go to Hell too. And then also
and kind of Designed for Living a little bit too. But,
his I thought it was kind of interesting also that the alcoholic's wife in this movie is played by Myrna Loy, who gets
loves to play the wife of an alcoholic.
No, she gets top billing in this movie, which is interesting, but also it's like the Thin Man. It's like a completely opposite situation of the Thin Man, where it's all just like, we're gonna have so much fun being completely sloshed and solving a crime. And this one's like, okay, are you drinking a little too much maybe?
Yeah That is kind of interesting that Myrna Loy is first billed, because I think she was like the biggest star when this movie came out. So it was like, that was gonna sell the movie. It's like, put Myrna Loy up front.
First on the call sheet.
Probably. Right, so Al,
And then there's Fred.
Homer has got his sweetheart that he's not married to back home. And then Fred, our last guy, is married, but sort of comes from like much, like, we get the sense that Al has like a very nice apartment, and Fred is like living with his parents in the kind of like the rundown part of town a bit more.
Yeah.
And then he finds out that his wife has moved out and like found her own apartment somewhere and is working at a nightclub. Ooh. But so they all hit the town together at Hoagie Carmichael's bar at Butch's. And there were also even like, they're all different ranks, and like the ranks don't really correspond to like, it's like Fred is the highest ranked, but he sort of comes from like the least money. And then like I definitely thought there was like a deliberate kind of dynamic there where like their ranks don't correspond to their like societal status when they come back home.
And they're from different branches too. They're like Army, Navy, and Air Force.
Right. Yeah, Fred was a bomber, and it's like, hey, he's looking for jobs, and they're like, hey, what skills do you have? And he was like,
I was a soda jerk, and then I was a bomber.
Bombs really well. And they're like, well, we don't really have any use for that, so you're gonna go back to your job as a soda jerk.
Yeah, so I mean, this movie, like I think like we were talking about, like it is using these three characters to examine different aspects of the kind of returning to civilization experience for people who have just been at war, and the issue of employment is and basically Fred is all about like what does your Army experience or your Air Force experience like mean as you're trying to reintegrate into society. But then also he's the one who kind of represents PTSD in this movie as well, where he keeps having these recurring nightmares that are like reenacting this kind of horrific scene from his past, or from when he was in a plane. And like different characters have different levels of like sympathy basically for his experience.
Yeah.
And then one for disability, and one for I don't want to drink my problems away, basically. Although I don't think that like the Al character is like necessarily a sad drunk, but
no. And I do feel like Al's character is dealing with a lot of like, he's dealing with like family stuff, a lot of sort of like, there's a degree to which also like his family have kind of become more, I guess, autonomous without him there. And so he's like, I'm like the man. He comes back and is like, I'm the man of the house. And they were like, cool, like we're going to work.
yeah.
Yeah, like his kids are older, so it's like there's that thing where it's like he feels sort of like so out of touch with them too. And then his one daughter is falling in love with Fred too, so that leads to a whole lot of drama there. The like romantic subplot between Fred and what's her name, Wilma, Al's daughter, is like, it definitely starts out.
Oh no, Wilma, no. Wilma is Homer's.
Oh no,
Homer's
not
girlfriend.
Wilma, it's Peggy.
Fred and Wilma are from the Flintstones, but this does have two characters named Fred and Wilma in it.
True. That's right. Fred and Peggy. It starts out where Fred is drunk, and Peggy lets him sleep in her bed. And then he wakes up in her bed that morning, not really remembering the night before, and is like, did I do anything bad? And she's like, no, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
And this was Peggy. We saw her in Shadow of a Doubt.
Yeah. Very true.
Muriel Wright.
It took me a second. It took me a second to recognize her, but Teresa
Wright. Muriel Teresa Wright. like another thing with Al is that this movie like kind of touches on microaggressions before that term had any kind of
Mm, mhm.
existence in the parlance. His journey, Homer's journey in this Homer's Odyssey in this movie is kind of about like him not accepting that other people will accept him, and him
Mhm.
grappling with like everyone. There's a point where he's like, either everyone is staring at my hooks or not, or deliberately
Mm.
staring away from my hooks. And
Yeah.
that feels very real. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I've definitely been in a situation where like somebody kind of has some kind of like I don't know what like they have something kind of going on like physically that uh I like you immediately have to make this decision of like do like okay, I don't stare, but I don't not stare too much,
Right.
and
Yeah.
it feels very real. It's like the ways that people struggle with dealing with that. Like you don't want to be a jerk about it, but there's like different ways of being a jerk about it, and like you can
Yeah.
see from
Yeah.
Homer's perspective all of the ways that he's feeling sensitive to that.
Mhm. And yeah, it does definitely feel like Harold Russell, the actor who plays Homer, is like definitely drawing upon a lot of his real experience, I'm sure, with that. Like for someone who has never acted on camera before, I mean, he's playing a sort of play a character that's not that far off from his himself, but like he brings it. He does a really good job.
Yeah,
Also, like I think something I was thinking about just in like the ways in which this movie deals with right people returning from war with injuries or not being able to find work because like their skills don't translate, things like that. It's like these are all things that are still problems now. Like
yeah,
these are all problems that veterans still have now that they also had after World War II. That is like it's kind of nuts that none of this has
yeah.
been like addressed
Right.
to a degree where it that feels acceptable.
It's well observed, certainly. I think that
Yeah.
I also really like that this movie, I think it kind of resists jingoism for the most part. Like
Yeah.
which I
Yeah.
think is
Very
sort
much
of
so.
refreshing for a movie all about like, military people, right? It's like it's a movie that is not, it's treating what they, what they did seriously, and uh you know relatively reverently, but not like rah rah reverently.
Yeah.
It's just dealing with them as people in like a very human way,
Hmm.
which I think is, it's not something that you typically see for like a military related picture.
Right. It's a very like pro veteran movie, and it's very sympathetic towards like the the issues that veterans have to deal with while still not feeling jingoistic. Which I'm sure also was like a thing that William Wyler was I don't know how much of that was like a deliberate attempt to like do it that way, but it feels like he is also putting a lot of his own war experience into this movie, I think.
Hmm.
There's a there's the one scene where they're at a bar and there's a or at like a diner and there's a guy reading a paper who or no, it's not a diner, it's at the like the department store where Fred works. Right? He gets he goes back to his job at the department store and he's like working at the beauty counter and has a show to jerk and like making ice cream for people. And there is something I think that is kind of funny. I think deliberately a little bit funny about like Dana Andrews, who plays Fred, is like a very like stock 1940s like square jawed looking dude.
Yeah.
And I think there is a like deliberate way in which they're like not necessarily emasculating him, but they're taking this like very kind of like classical like World War II hero looking guy and putting him in these like like jobs that like teenagers would have.
Yeah.
And that does feel very deliberate that he's sort of like I like went away for like 4 years and like was blowing things up and now I come back and it's like here go like make this ice cream cone for someone. That's the only job you can get.
Yeah, it's like, I was a kid and then I went and like became a man, but now
Right.
I can't carry that on because nobody cares about what I did. And so now
Yeah.
I go back to being a kid again, basically.
Yeah. But so there's a scene where he's working the ice cream counter or whatever, and Homer's there, and there's another guy who is basically saying like we as like the country of America like joined the wrong side of the war. Like he was saying like he's a Nazi sympathizer. He's like we shouldn't have fought them. We should have joined that side. And Homer is like, go fuck yourself, asshole. As does Fred, and they get into a big fight, and Fred gets fired because he socks him one as he should have. But I was surprised at that scene in 1946 that they would even have a character like voice that there would be like post World War II Nazi sympathizers just like out and about, which is kind of, I mean, feels very it felt very I don't know, prescient, or it hit home watching it in 2025 for sure.
The first neo-Nazi.
I mean, far from the first.
The first
last,
the first
sadly.
neo-Nazi in this movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah. True. But right, even like the fact that this movie is addressing how like not all Americans were like on board with fighting the Nazis before or after World War II.
Right. Yeah.
And even like that too kind of feels like a surprising, I don't know, just a surprising thing to put in this movie. More nuanced than, I feel like I'm giving like backhanded compliments, like I'm surprised this movie is smart, but I think it's 1940s movies tend to have very sort of like broad themes, like big ideas, and like they don't necessarily trade in subtlety as much as this does. And I mean, this movie won Best Picture at the Oscars in 46.
I'm stunned at how little we pay attention to the Best Picture.
Right, because that's the thing about Best Picture is like a lot of those movies are kind of forgotten, or like don't feel like they're necessarily like the most culturally relevant movie from every year. Yeah. So it does feel like they don't always align with like the movies that get remembered the most. Apparently Steven Spielberg watches this movie once a year. It's one of his favorites. So that's fun. I finished watching that Netflix documentary, Five Came Back, about William Wyler and John Huston and Frank Capra, all the guys who like went off to work for like the World War II filmmaking and like all of their experiences and stuff kind of afterwards. And so there's a good chunk of that about this movie and about like Harold Russell and about William Wyler sort of like taking his war experience and like putting all of that into this, and like trying to kind of make this movie as a like way to kind of support his like all the people that he had served with, which is kind of, I like that sentiment, I guess, of it, that like, because I think part of this movie is also very much about like civilians on the home front who like don't understand what people went through,
right,
and kind of don't understand like the psychological place that they're at. I also feel like, I don't know, they're such small potatoes compared to World War II, but I feel like even like pre and post COVID, the degree to which there was just a feeling of like stuff has changed and I don't feel comfortable anymore, kind of.
Right.
Like that was just a way that I feel like I was able to kind of relate to it in a more personal way. Like that, it reminded me of that feeling of just like, oh yeah, things are like, I'm trying to like go back to the things I used to do and it doesn't feel the same.
Interesting. Yeah, true. Yeah. Some context has changed for in both yourself and the world in both of these cases. I don't have a lot more to say, but like one spare note is that Greg Toland did the cinematography here, and there are a couple of shots with just incredibly deep focus, like wacky stuff going on, where like you're supposed to be paying attention to somebody in like a tiny little corner of the screen, like 400 feet away.
It does feel like, even if I didn't know that, I'd be like, did Greg Toland shoot this movie? It has a lot of his signature stuff in it. Also, one thing they point out in that documentary that I think Spielberg talks about in it is how like the movie is very visually is pretty not generic, but it's pretty plain. Like there's like the deep focus stuff,
Yeah.
but it's very like the camera doesn't really move. It's very sort of like, here's a room, here's people talking. That's what we're gonna show you, and it doesn't look bad, it doesn't look bland, but it's not like the camera's not doing a lot. Until the scene where Fred he's like looking for work. He gets fired from his ice cream job, and then he goes to an airplane graveyard full of like old bombers and fighters that have been like stripped for parts, and he's walking through this like forest of like decommissioned airplanes,
It's such a
and suddenly the
stunning,
camera
like
starts.
stunning image.
Suddenly we're going to like crane shots and dolly moves and stuff, and it's like it feels like we're getting like drawn into his brain in a
Yeah.
way, because like the movie has been so restrained with its camera moves up until that point, and then it's like putting all of it into this one scene that is all wordless. If it was like walking through this stuff
It's a
and
plain
like climbing into the
graveyard,
plane.
and he's you know, it feels like a graveyard for all of the people who died around him also. Like
Yeah,
it is like this really eerie, yeah, like forest you were saying. Uh
there's all these like they're set up in these like long rows, and it's like making all these kind of weird geometric shapes and
yeah,
things.
it's really
Yeah,
striking.
yeah, and it feels really especially like visually distinctly different from the rest of the movie.
Yeah, and then there's a part where he climbs into a bomber and sort of tries to have this sort of experience. Like he just kind of sits there and almost like almost just kind of meditates in a way to just like kind of try and like get through his experience, to try and like put himself back in a bomber in a completely safe place and like
Yeah,
relive it in his mind to like get through it. And then
but I feel like
the
it's
camera
like
does all this like subjective stuff around him while that's happening.
I think it's kind of him like returning home a little bit too. Like he's
Yeah.
returned home to like his hometown, but then it's like he feels so out of place, and so he goes to this airplane graveyard and goes and
Ah.
sits in the bomber, and he's like, "Oh, like he doesn't." This is never expressed in the movie, but I get the sense just through context clues that like that is a moment where he's like, "I've spent so much time sitting in the front of a bomber that this now feels more comfortable or more safe or more like home,"
It's a womb.
which is heartbreaking. Yeah,
He's returning to a womb of safety. If you want to
yeah.
get all like Freudian on it, you know.
But I feel like that's there in the movie. I feel
Yeah,
like it's
yeah.
inviting that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's like the movie is dipping into, I think, not necessarily surrealism, but it's dipping into sort of a little bit more of that kind of like heady psychological imagery, I guess, than the rest of it. Yeah, good stuff. And then Homer and Wilma get married at the end, and everyone is happy.
Yeah.
And then Fred and Peggy get together too, after Fred leaves his wife because his wife is mean to him. We didn't really talk about that plot line.
It's a love
that
triangle,
much,
whatever.
yeah.
How many love triangles have we covered? It's
I've
ridiculous.
Far too many. Quick, one last thing. I do want to shout out Dana Andrews' drunk walk acting. I think is phenomenal in this movie. Like his walk of like he's like standing kind of too straight. It's that thing of like good drunk acting is like trying to act sober, you know?
Uh-huh.
And it's like just his like slow walk when he's like, you can tell that he's just like trying to keep himself upright. I was like, I know that walk. That's good. That's good drunk acting right there. Another movie by an American director who went off to join the war effort and is making their big sort of first post-war movie.
And also features
Is
some good drunk acting.
true. Is I think probably the most famous movie from 1946.
Yeah, you're right.
It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful
The
Life.
Christmas classic.
Yeah. Yes.
Also, maybe the most famous Frank Capra movie? Question mark.
Yeah, now that you're saying all of
It
this,
is
you are
kind of
definitely correct that it's the most famous Frank Capra movie and the most famous movie in this episode. A movie that notably was not that famous, not that beloved at the time, and then became a staple from being on
Right.
TV all the time. Which is
Yeah.
crazy to me because this movie's really good.
It's really, really good. Yeah. Yeah. This is like his Frank Capra's like big, his first movie back after World War II. And even though it isn't directly, I mean, it's partially about, it addresses World War II. There's like, it that happens in the plot of the movie. But it's not a war movie. It's not really about the like this not in the same way that Best Year of Our Lives is. But I think it's psychologically, it is sort of like metatextually about World War II in a similar way.
How do you mean?
I think in the sense of I don't know, do we want to do a synopsis? George Bailey is sort of sacrificing so much of himself for his community and doesn't feel like he is being seen for it, and he feels like he has sort of wasted so much of his life, the best years of his life, perhaps.
He's always choosing to help people over helping himself, and
Yes.
and he
feels unappreciated, and he feels like
he's not bitter though.
It's
just that like
kind of bitter at times.
I think he's not. I think. Well, when you say it, it's like he's not bitter at other people. He's just
He's
feels,
bitter at himself.
He
mostly.
feels unfulfilled when he
Yeah.
is constantly choosing to not fulfill himself.
Right. He's constantly choosing other people's needs over his own.
Yeah. Big mood.
Right. I mean, this was also Jimmy Stewart's first movie after World War II. He also fought. I mean, he was like in a bomber in World War II. He was like constantly trying to get like not preferential treatment because he was a movie star. He was like, no, like send me to France, send me to Germany. I want to actually do stuff.
I want to actually do stuff. Let me do some stuff.
Actually, go out there and drop bombs. Sure. And so like there's I guess we'll get into it as we talk about the movie, but like there's been, I think, much written about how like his like psychological state after World War II adds so much to this performance, where it's like he was able to bring so much more emotion and depth to it because he was like drawing upon the his own, not necessarily like his own trauma or his own experiences.
Yeah. He plays haunted well at points in this movie. I guess to summarizing also is that like he does all this stuff. He takes over his dad's company that helps people who are struggling to buy homes.
The building and loan.
And there's an evil banker who he kind of is always trying to take him down, and eventually there's some misplaced money that ends up in this banker's hands, and he says, now is my time. I'm going to use this to destroy him. And he starts becoming destroyed. And there's this whole framing device of like we're watching through his life as being described to his guardian angel.
Clarence.
There's a moment where he has his life insurance policy and he's told he's worth more dead than alive. And he's about to kill himself, and then his guardian angel steps in and shows him all of the ways that that the world is better.
Well, because he's talking to he's gonna jump off a bridge. The guardian angel jumps into the river ahead of him, so he jumps off the bridge to save Clarence, who he doesn't yet know is an angel. And while he's talking to Clarence, he says, I wish I was never been born. And Clarence is like, I can arrange that. And so in order to show George Bailey how much of a wonderful life he has lived, he shows him what the world would be. He transports him to an alternate reality in which he had never been born. And he sees his wonderful hometown of Bedford Falls, the most American town that has ever existed.
He sees his Back to the Future 2 nightmare.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Back to the Future 2, very inspired by this movie, I'm sure. Which has now become Pottersville, run by Potter, the evil banker. And all of the good deeds that he has done over his life haven't happened, and so the town is just a sort of a cesspool of capitalism and I do think it's funny that they're like, the town has been ruined. It's full of nightclubs.
Yeah, a lot of anti-nightclub sentiment in these movies.
Very much so, yeah.
There's there's also like a part where
Pro alcoholism, but anti nightclub.
he is trying to check in on all of the people in his life when he has never been born, and he's like, what about my wife, like what about this person that I love? And then his guardian angel's like, oh, you don't want to see that, she's a 36-year-old unmarried librarian.
Oh, yeah, that is
what a
thing
loser.
that is, I think, the part of the movie that I don't really have, I think is right to be criticized. I think that point kind of sucks. I've heard arguments for and against it. I've heard people I've heard readings of it that are more positive and aren't sort of so kind of misogynist. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Mary becomes an old maid.
A spinster. You're mentioning all the small town and all of these people who know each other and everything. And while I was making this movie, this doesn't hit every point, but I was kind of making a bullet list of Capricorn attributes.
Right, yeah.
We got small town. We got
Mhm.
everyone loves the main character and he knows everyone in this small town.
Yeah.
We have a very earnest main character who believes in stuff and wants to make believes in principles.
But gets taken advantage of because of that goodness.
Yep. This movie doesn't have this, but we have the cynical woman whose cynicism is defeated by the main character and comes to believe in stuff.
I would kind of argue that she's not as big of a character in this, but what's her name? Violet, who's sort of the more I don't know, because there's like Mary, who's like the nice girl that he marries, and Violet is the one who's always kind of like trying to seduce him away, or to like lead him more to like there's sort of this road not taken, I guess, sort of with Violet. I do think Violet has a bit of a sort of like, she's presented, I guess, as a slightly more cynical character. She doesn't really fit in that archetype. Maybe I'm grasping at straws here.
Other points. Working class families that also have servants for some reason.
Right.
Chaotic families. America rules.
In the Best Years of Our Lives, when Al comes back, he's like, oh, like it's the maid's day off, and they're like, oh no, we got rid of the maid, we can't afford one anymore. And I was like, you could afford a maid before?
But yeah, Capricorn loves America and class conscious but not communist. and also punching solves problems.
Yeah, even though I found out the FBI apparently did accuse this movie of being like communist propaganda. The FBI.
The FBI.
Goddamn J. Edgar Hoover saw this movie and was like, communism.
I mean, that's the thing. It's
Shut
like
it down.
Like Capra is quite conservative, but he makes. He's nowhere near D.W. Griffith levels, but he is making. He's aware of bad businessmen and is always making movies about bad businessmen must be defeated.
Yeah. The bad businessman in this movie, Mr. Potter, maybe one of the most famous evil banker characters in all of American fiction.
Yeah.
A real Scrooge type.
He is a real Scrooge
which apparently
type.
Is the reason Lionel Barrymore was cast is because he had played Scrooge, I think, on the radio. And they were like... Also, I mean, he worked with Capra before in...
You Cannot Take It With You.
Can't Take It With You, or as we call it, Quirky Grandpa. And here he goes from playing Quirky Grandpa to evil banker.
Yeah,
not grandpa because he has no children. But
I mean, speaking of You Can't Take It With You, in the savings alone, there's a picture of his dad on the wall with a quote that says, "All you can take with you is that which you've given away." So it's kind of like hitting the same idea of like, don't you can't take your money with you into the afterlife. Like, do good things while you're alive, basically.
There's a lot of recurring actors in this movie from that from that one, and a lot of recurring, I think, thematic ideas. I think this movie is so much better than You Can't Take It With You.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, hot take, It's a Wonderful Life, I think, is great and rules, and I watch it every year.
This is only my second time seeing it. I saw it for the first time recently, and I was shocked at the suicide angle in it.
Yeah, it's dark.
It is.
It is funny that this is like a classic Christmas movie because it only like maybe 20 minutes of it take place around Christmas.
Yeah,
And it is really surprisingly dark for a like light family comedy as
yeah.
it is usually remembered as.
But it works. I think the darkness,
Yeah. It balances.
this is the
Yeah.
kind of movie to move you to tears sort of thing. It's a very
Yeah.
it gets you in the feelings, and I think it needs that darkness in order to
But
get
it's
you
like
there.
it's happy tears, I feel.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, this movie definitely gets the waterworks going in a good way. Um but it's like it feels like it's like a cathartic. It's like cathartic tears. It's not like
Yeah.
this movie is very much not a bummer, despite its darkness.
Yeah, this is a movie about like somebody losing sight of everyone who loves him and appreciates him. And then in the end of the movie, they're like, "Of course we'll help you get out of your jam. We all love you and appreciate you." And it's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
oh."
Yeah. So the scene right before George goes to the bridge to jump, he has this bit where he prays, and as he prays, he breaks down into tears. And apparently, as the story goes, the tears were unscripted. It was just supposed to be him like sitting there and praying, and then he leaves. But because James Stewart had was just like overwhelmed with emotion shooting the scene because of like his years of being in the war and coming back, and just like all of these sort of like emotions were sort of like hitting at once, and he actually broke down while they were shooting it, and so that's what's in the movie. I don't know how true that is. That's sort of one of those like behind the scenes stories that I'm like, I don't know. It's sort of like it's become legend at this point. But I do think there is like you were saying, like James Stewart plays melancholy really well. And I do think this is definitely one of the movies he's known for, like really hitting the melancholy stuff, even though he does a lot of goofy stuff too. Early on, especially. I do feel like there is a noticeable sort of like shift in his performance style or in like the roles he takes post war.
Hmm.
I think a lot of people, his early 30s, it was like 30s and early 40s movies are much more comedic, much more lighthearted.
Mhm.
And I think his like 40s and 50s movies, he goes a bit more into the darkness.
Well, he starts working with Hitchcock and then doing all of these
Right, yeah.
all of these roles of like very compromised people.
Obsessive, murderous people. Yeah. Yeah, it's just interesting to see how like World War II did sort of like affect just people's maybe worldviews too, and sort of like how they approached storytelling a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a lot we're not. There's like lots of like famous scenes, I guess, that we're not talking about. But I'm also kind of like, what are we gonna say about the scene where they're dancing and the floor opens up and they fall in the pool? Other than it's great.
Yeah.
It rules.
Yeah, it's a good time.
They keep dancing. They fall in the pool and they keep dancing in the water. It's great.
Yeah, this movie like really believes in like nice little moments. There's the part where he is talking to the I don't know, more corrupted lady who's still nice. And he's like,
Right,
let's
but Violet's also like a very seems like a very wonderful person
Yeah.
and like doesn't really,
But he's like, oh, let's go and we're gonna take our shoes off and walk in the grass and we're gonna have a time where we're just really getting real. And she's like, ugh, taking your shoes off.
Yeah.
You know?
Gross. No, thank you.
And yeah, like the
That's what I
moment.
mean. It's like Violet's not real, man. Violet's not real in the same way that Mary is.
Yeah, yeah. And then of course there's the you want the moon? I'll lasso it.
I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down for you.
Yeah, it's a very kind of like a hometown girl next door sort of story.
Yeah. There's a lot of back and forth with them too. Like George keeps kind of being a jerk to her, I think, and there's like there a lot of like kind of near misses with their romance. It feels like,
Mhm.
like right after the high school graduation dance where they fall in the pool and they have the moon talk. He gets the news that his dad has died, and so that like kind of like pulls him in a whole nother direction. And then like they do eventually get married, but then they have to spend all their honeymoon money to keep the building and loan in business. And right, all of this sort of like he keeps deferring his happiness because like something came up, right? Like, oh, I can't do. He keeps wanting to travel the world, and it's like, nope, you can't do that now. You've got to stay in town and take over your dad's business. You can't do this. And he's watching everyone else in his life go. His brother goes off and joins the Air Force, and his friends are going off and doing other things, and he keeps having to stay in this town. And you do feel it, I think, that it's like you feel his frustration, even though he is living a very nice life, right? He's like has a nice marriage, he has nice kids, everyone likes him, like, but it's this thing is like, oh, he keeps wanting to like do other things, and like the universe is like not letting him almost. And so when he hits his low point, it just feels like there's like so much of this like pent up, just emotion in that.
Like, even though everything's nice, you can believe the moment that he's about to commit suicide.
Right. Yeah. He does snap at his wife and all of his kids, and that I always get so mad at him when he does that. I'm always like, George, what are you doing? And then it's like, but I also think this movie's whole kind of central premise is the idea of him like going and seeing what his life would be if he had never been born, which is a very small section of the movie. It's really only the third act, pretty much.
Yeah, it's like an hour and a half into the movie before like the kind of famous stuff happens.
Yeah. But it's right. It's like there's tons of great scenes before that.
Yeah.
It's just all sort of like building to this central kind of like I don't know, magical realism kind of premise of the movie.
Yeah.
I guess that's what you'd call it. It's not, because it's certainly not science fiction. But I also wouldn't really call it fantasy either. But it's like the idea of a guardian angel coming down from outer space. Right, we see like galaxies talking at the beginning, like lighting up and talking to each other.
It's an interesting depiction of angels, right? It's got this like shot,
right? But it's like heaven as like the heavens, right? Of just like the sky.
Yeah, it's not like angels in clouds with harps like we might see in Cabin in the Sky. But it was more. It almost feels like this like secular vision of heaven. It's got this like spacey sort of proto beginning shot of Contact, where it's like swooping through galaxies until it like lands on these glowing galaxies and stars that are the angels, and then they kind of materialize as people.
Which I like how this movie deals with like prayer and angels and like morality and things like that. Without feeling like it's not as overtly Christian as it could easily be.
I know, yeah. If this movie were more Christian, I'd have a harder time with it.
But I also think it appeals like to a Christian audience for sure.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't feel like it's not whatever the version of religious jingoism would be.
Yeah.
Right. It's like it's not jingoistic in that sense. Which I do like. I feel like I have to shout out one of my favorite scenes in this movie when Clarence has transported him to the alternate reality where he wasn't born, but he hasn't quite realized it yet. And he goes back to the bar that he was just at, Martini's, and the bartender Martini is like in the running for, I know we bring this up like every episode, in the running for the most 1940s man who has ever lived.
Oh, not Martini. It's the guy who it's the other guy.
Well, yeah, the guy that has replaced Martini.
Yeah,
because Clarence the angel orders mulled wine with like extra allspice or whatever, and then goes, "Look here, pal. Around here we serve hard drinks for men who want to get drunk fast, and we don't need any characters hanging around and giving the joint atmosphere. Get me?
Incredible.
Or should I slip you my left for a convincing?" And yes, I did memorize that whole line because it's so good.
Great line reading.
Also, just I'll slip you my left for a convincer is his way of saying, I'm going to punch you if you don't shut up.
Yeah, it's great.
Which is like the use of language in 1940s movies. I'm so enamored of, and like I want to speak like someone from a 1940s movie. I realize people in the 40s probably didn't actually speak this way. It's just that screenwriters are good at writing it. But like, just the lingo, the creative use of language, I love.
Damn the 90s for giving us dialogue that's too naturalistic.
Dang you, Linklater, for giving
Tarantino,
us
dog,
naturalistic talking.
dog. Do they do that with Dog May? Get some information up in the frame.
Dogme.
Isn't that Dog May 94?
Is it pronounced Dogme?
That's how it's spelled.
Oh, well.
Dogma 95.
I guess it is an E, not an A, yeah.
Yeah, it's Danish. I don't know. Anyway.
Have you ever heard of Maison Song?
Get some information up in the frame, bitch.
Yeah, I don't know. Is there any big things? I feel like weirdly I feel like we have almost less to say about this movie because so much has been said about it already.
What do we say?
It's a wonderful life.
It's a
great,
wonderful life.
You know? It's wonderful. A different movie from 46 that I think we both watched that deals with magic
Yes.
is the French film Beauty and the Beast. Or if you're French, La Belle et la Bête.
La Bête.
La Bête. Je suis la Bête. Bonjour.
La Bête. La Belle.
Mon bête. Mon bête. Oui, Belle.
Yes.
Où est-ce que vous?
A foundational entry in furry cinema.
Oh, for sure.
For sure. Yeah, this movie is it's Beauty and the Beast. It's hitting those same bullet points that you've seen.
What's the plot? Beauty and the Beast.
But it's definitely like a, compared to the one that I think more people are familiar with, it is a lot dreamier. It's a lot more like
a lot spookier.
It's got some spooky vibes. And it's got like the Beast is a bit more of like a sexy kitty cat instead of whatever they kind of draw him as in the
I know. Yeah, I do think the Disney movie is. I don't know. So I haven't done a lot of research into this. I'm curious how much the Disney movie is drawing directly from this movie, as opposed to what is inherent to the original story.
Yeah, I mean, it does inspire some of the same ideas. You kind of see some
visually
of the same scenes happening. I do. Yeah. It is my understanding that like the visuals and the way that the castle in particular is depicted is a pretty direct influence toward the Disney movie.
Right. I have not read the original sort of fairy tale that this is based on. So I don't know how much of that is like the Beast looks like a lion man, which is how the Beast has basically always been depicted in any sort of visual depiction I've seen in modern times, this movie included. Whether it's this or the Disney movie or the remake of the Disney movie or the Ron Perlman TV show where he lives in the sewer and fights crime, I think. Never seen it. But yeah, this is obviously predates the animated Disney movie, and so it is all in French. It's a French film. I would not describe it as a children's film, although I think the opening text of the movie invites the audience to sort of watch it with childlike eyes, of try to keep a childlike mindset while watching this, and don't try to be like, well, actually, this would happen.
It's got basically
it's a fairy tale.
Yeah, it's like a disclaimer at the beginning. It's just like, this is a fairy tale, by the way. Like, approach it that way.
Yeah. This is directed by Jean Cocteau, who I have only ever seen, I think, one other film from that we got to do on the show when we get to it, the 1950 Orpheus movie, which rules. And I think Cocteau really came from a lot more of the kind of surrealist art movement also, and you can really feel that in this movie. This movie's I think reminds me almost a little bit more. It's like more leaning towards almost like the Maya Deren stuff. A
Yeah,
little
at
bit. It's
times.
not nearly as surreal or avant-garde as that
It's,
is.
this is a narrative movie, but when I say that it's
Yeah.
like dreamy, there's like a lot of parts where the movie just kind of slows way down for you to just experience imagery and feelings.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I love about it. Like I really enjoyed this movie.
I want to watch it again because I feel like I was not in the right mood for like slow, dreamy imagery, and I wasn't like
Right.
on board with it. But I think
I
in
also
another
got really
scenario I could be.
lucky. I got really lucky in that I was able to see this in a theater on film too, which I do think was like, best possible scenario to see this movie. Yeah, this has lots of this movie looks gorgeous, unsurprisingly. It's got lots of like foggy woods and castles and like palace rooms, and it's got a lot of like really cool in-camera effects in it too. Like a lot of like really cool like camera trick stuff.
Hmm.
I think the makeup for the Beast looks great and holds up really well in like extreme close-ups a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, it does I think a good job of like simultaneously at times being like frightening looking, and it's like this big hairy lion guy with claws and teeth whose eyes like reflect in the night. And then there's like a close up where Belle is like, snuggling up next to him, and it's like he's adorable. He's yeah, like you said, he's a kitty cat man.
Yeah.
He's got the whiskers, and you're like, oh, like he is simultaneously like at times like kind of gross and kind of creepy, and also really adorable.
Yeah, I think that he is on the whole cuter than the Beast in the Disney movie. I think that maybe this is
Yeah,
just a matter of opinion or whatever, but I think
I don't
that
know.
I
He's
think that
never covered in blood in the Disney movie though.
right, I guess there's that whole angle of like danger with him of like what is it? He must kill or something like that.
Yeah. And then whenever he does, it's like he starts smoking. Like
Yeah,
his hands will give off smoke.
very fantastical. Like a bunch of kind of we invented these rules for how this fantasy creature
Yes.
works in order to make cool imagery.
Yes, absolutely. One of the things that I think this movie is most famous for is like the all the stuff in the palace where the palace itself is alive, right? Like the staff has been sort of turned into the furniture and the architecture
Hmm.
of the chateau where the beast lives. And so instead of getting, sort of singing candlesticks as Disney would do, we get candelabras held by arms that move with you as you walk through the hallway, and like a table with like a hand that reaches out and pours wine, and like statues on the walls that like their face will turn and watch you as you walk past. And
A la
it's
the Jekyll and Hyde restaurant in New York City.
oh man, I am so annoyed that that place does not exist anymore. I want to go back so bad.
uh,
I feel so blessed that I was able to go there more than once in life.
I was thinking about there are some of the a lot of the stuff it's very clearly like 24 people who are sitting on the edge of the set and sticking their arms through the wall,
But
but
it's like it's so easy to tell how it was done in that sense. With like, yeah, they have a person sticking their arm through the wall,
yeah.
but it works so well,
Yeah.
and it does sort of like your brain is still sort of seeing it and being like, what am I looking at? Like there is a degree to which it is like hitting the brain in like just the right way.
Yeah, there's a lot of the interiors that just kind of fade off into black in the movie where
Right. Yeah.
like the kind of things that you're supposed to pay attention to are like, it's a black and white movie. They're just like in bright kind of high contrast. It's like here's a face, here are the characters, and they're almost just like sitting in a void. Like the castle just
Mm,
becomes this black void for like for
yeah.
you to just focus in on like exactly the kind of set elements that uh you're supposed to pay attention to slash that they were paying for.
Yeah. Something I was kind of surprised by, I guess, is just how much kind of visual influence uh from this is in the Robert Eggers Nosferatu
Hmm.
remake.
Hmm.
Like the statues, the heads turning is like directly from this movie. Really the entire Hutter coming to Orlok's castle in that movie,
Hmm.
I would say, is drawing more visual influence from this Beauty and the Beast movie than original Murnau Nosferatu.
True.
There's even a shot where Belle is sort of moving towards the camera on sort of a dolly, like she's just kind of floating towards camera in a very similar way to how Hutter does in that movie. A lot of like great like curtains blowing in the
Oh
wind
yeah.
with like light streaming through. This movie looks incredible. Maybe it's just the fact that it's like being made outside of Hollywood, but I feel like it does feel like it has a very distinctive kind of visual style that feels very different from like the Hollywood movies that we're watching.
Yeah, it makes sense that it feels artsy fartsy in a French way.
Powell and Pressburger are doing like crazy visual stuff, but like in a different way from what this movie is doing.
I'm writing this down right now because I feel like it would be. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little distracted because it would be so doable now to make those candelabra arms with like little robot arms and like a Microsoft Connect or whatever to like tracking people. And it's just like the arms move to follow you. I gotta.
Are you gonna put that? Are you gonna put that in your new apartment?
Oh, someday, I will make the Beauty and the Beast castle real. I'll live.
Ah,
I'm not a Disney adult. I'm a
Cocteau adult.
I'm a TCM adult.
Oh boy. Yeah, there is like I do think one thing, and maybe this says more about me than anything about the movie necessarily, but like I do love how much kind of like camera trickery and things like that are in this,
Mhm.
and just like I mean the lavishness of like the sets and all of that and the costumes, but like how much is like there's a lot of like hidden cuts in like whip pans in this movie,
Mm.
which I think is something we haven't seen that much of in filmmaking up to this point of like the movies that we've covered.
Mhm.
Like there's a lot of like reverse film. There's a bit where like Belle uses a glove to teleport back to her village, and she like comes out of a wall in this way that is just her getting like pulled, I think, into a floor that has been reversed and made to look like a wall, but it's like she is in this big dress that is like kind of emerging out of a wall in a really cool way. There's a really amazing, super simple effect where Belle goes to the castle where the beast is living to save her dad, and then she's like, "Hey, can I go back to my village for like a day?" And the beast is like, "Fine, here's a teleporting glove." She teleports back. That's the kind of movie this is. And she, she's covered in like finery, and she has her two shitty sisters that are like never do work and just like parade around in jewels all day. And they're like, "Ooh, Belle's wearing jewels now. Big whoop. Ooh, look who's suddenly decided to be fancy." And one of them tries to take her necklace, and when she picks it up, the necklace turns into this like smoking, gross, like hunk of like black matter. And so she drops it, and like as she drops it, the camera whips down to the
Yeah.
floor, and there's a hidden cut. And so as it's like she drops it, it falls, and like the camera whips down and it hits the ground, and it's back to being like pearls and nice jewelry. But it's so seamless. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's the kind of stuff that I think, I don't know, one of the things in this movie that I really love and appreciate is just like they're showing magic and they're showing creatures and they're showing all this stuff, but it's like through just such simple camera tricks that all work incredibly well. Like the simplicity does not make them feel any cheaper or sort of like less effective. If
Yeah.
anything, it makes them more impressive because it's like that's all they did, and it still works super well.
Yeah. Yeah. Confidently done. Definitely.
Yeah, this whole movie is definitely very confidently done. There's the kind of dual role of the Beast is played by the same actor as Avenant, who's the sort of Gaston character, braggadocious jock of the town. And then at the end of the movie, they like switch places kind of through magic, where like Avenant dies and turns into a beast, and then the Beast is returned to human form, but since he's played the same actor, he looks like that guy. And Bella's like, "You look like that guy that I know." And he's like, "Is that a problem?" And she's like, I guess not."
This is this is the case in the Disney one too, where like when he turns back into a human, she kind of has mixed feelings about it.
Right? It's like, I was so into you being a kitty cat man that like now I'm a little bummed. Yeah. I mean, I do think that is definitely in this movie is very much a slow sort of like, Avenant is like a beast on the inside because he's such an asshole, and the Beast is like a real softy on the inside. So like they switch.
It wasn't until Shrek that this paradigm was turned on its head.
Right. Yeah. Very true. Which it is definitely a thing that I think is I agree with Guillermo del Toro and the writers of Shrek that like, yes, instead of like the monsters getting turned into like, conventionally attractive people, they should just stay as monsters and live a happy life that way. Because like, why is that a problem? Yeah, I mean, I feel like all of my things about this movie are just like naming cool stuff that happens, because like I feel like thematically it is maybe not the deepest movie. I don't know, it's getting into sort of like,
it's a fairy tale.
Right. And it's very
simple.
much, don't judge people if they look like cat monsters. If your family is mean to you, then go live in a castle. I don't know. Like I think right. It's not, we're not getting into like the the sort of emotional depths that I think like It's a Wonderful Life and Best Year of Our Lives are. And I think this is a totally different mode of filmmaking than those are. Those are like really like telling really deeply human stories. And this is telling a very fanciful fairy tale through like just incredible filmmaking technique.
Yeah.
And so it is like, I can see how this maybe wouldn't appeal in the same way as those do.
I gotta give it another chance.
But I really like it.
This isn't a silent movie, but it goes on the playlist of things to put on in the background in a party.
It does actually, now that you say that, it does actually kind of almost feel like a silent movie in its approach in some ways. It does have a lot of the kind of like the grandeur and the kind of like experimental nature of a lot of silent movies.
True. Yeah.
Well,
yeah. What's your favorite, Glenn?
Oh God, that's such a difficult question, because I really loved a lot of these movies. Like 46 is a hell of a year. I'm really tempted to say Notorious. And I think a lot of it is because of like, I do feel like that one is kind of just like, it's so balanced of like everything I want in a movie. I feel like it has like emotional depth. Like it has like really sharp writing. Like the screenplay feels really like tight, and I think it's got great dialogue. It's got good characters. It's got cool like flourishes. It's a movie about like messing with Nazis, which I love. ruining plans that Nazis are trying to make. Yeah, the cast. I do think, but like also like It's a Wonderful Life. Am I not going to pick It's a Wonderful Life? I don't know.
I mean, I'm going to pick It's a Wonderful Life.
Okay, so then, all right. As long as you pick it, I think I can safely put Notorious as my favorite. Although, like I
put him on the board.
I could just as easily say It's a Wonderful Life, I think.
It's a Wonderful Life is it by a mile for me. It's so good. It's so touching. It's a classic for a reason, because it's very, very good, and it's earnest and it's real, and it's not earnest in a way that annoys me a little bit like some of some of Capra's other movies. I think it's earnest in a way that feels earned and good, and it's great. It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, it is great. You're making me regret not picking that as my favorite. But
Too bad.
I wanna shout out Notorious because I also think Notorious is incredible.
I think sometimes we use our favorite segment to shout out a movie.
Right. Yeah.
In particular.
Especially if it's all the same. Like I don't really feel like one is, necessarily better than the other.
Well, that'll do it for this episode.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me, Glenn. Thanks for joining us, all you people out there in podcast land, as they say.
Indeed.
And
they say?
I don't know. My podcast early years were filled with stuff you should know. The podcast, and they say podcast land in that one, which I like. I like that. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed. Stick around for the tail end of the 40s and into the 50s. And thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Check out our Letterboxd and our YouTube channel and all that good jazz. And that's about it. Glenn, I will see you in 1947. I'll see you next year.
See you next year.
Hey, look, mister. We serve hard drinks in here for men who want to get drunk fast, and we don't need any characters around to give the joint atmosphere. Is that clear? Or do I have to slip you my lip for a convincer?